All right, hey guys, this is first of a potential series of videos I wanted to do on some of my ideas and findings. Um, Hoping to get maybe some feedback and give some people some ideas maybe that might help them. The first video that I wanted to do was on power and efficiency versus corruption resistance, basically, which is to say that the more power that you give to a position, the more efficiency it gains, but also the higher the chances and dangers of corruption become. Um, and you see this kind of all throughout any kind of positions of power. So you can take like situations like the beginning of the United States. The government, or the founding fathers, were afraid of adding too much power to the government out of fear of the corruption it could bring. So they initially created the Articles of Confederation, which gave the government very little power. However, they ended up running into an issue. There was not enough power. There was no efficiency. They couldn't get anything done. Um, and they realized that they needed to provide that position with power, um, and to give the central government more power so that it could be efficient enough to actually um, do things. But of course, they wanted to protect against the potentials of corruption that come along with gaining power. So they put a bunch of checks and balances and a lot of distribution of power. Now, this naturally makes the system to a degree ineffective or less effective than it could be with highly concentrated power. Um, there's like some narrative ideas that kind of stood out to me with regards to this, which was like one example was in the prequel Star Wars trilogy, um, where Palpatine is rising to power, and there's a scene in there where Padme comes in and tells Anakin that they're voting the Chancellor more emergency war powers. She's worried about it because she sees the danger in the increase of the potential of corruption. Um, Whereas Anakin responds with good that will allow him to end this war. So he sees it from the perspective of the increased efficiency. Um, because at that time in the stories, Valorum, the Chancellor, is not getting anything done to stop it. The system, because of the bureaucracy, and the Senate is too ineffective, too inefficient to actually end the war in a timely manner. So it's kind of a struggle in there with the idea, and it's a very real life scenario of the struggle between the idea of wanting to gain power and efficiency to be able to get things done, but also needing to avoid corruption, which you basically can't. The more power you give to a position, the more efficient it becomes, the more prone and it then becomes to corruption, and the more damaging that corruption can then become. But you can't afford to go the other way either. You can't afford for the system to become too inefficient. So it's very much a balancing act, and we need to bear that in mind. Another prime example that stuck out to me a lot with this was with regards to police and policing. In the same way, in a lot of cases, um, the police over time gained a lot of extra power, discretionary powers, things of that nature. They were given those powers in order to try to make them more efficient, which in a lot of cases, or in some cases, it did, and that was the goal of it. Of course, though, as you add power, you add the danger and rate um, of corruption. There's a higher chance of corruption happening, and the corruption then becomes more damaging. So it's really, once again, it's a teetering act. Basically, you need the efficiency to be able to get things done, but you also need to be aware of that the more efficiency you add, the higher the chances and danger of corruption become. Um, and so it's very much a balancing act, and yeah, you have to bear that in mind when you're doing anything. You can't go too far one way or the other. Um, and that would basically be to kind of wrap up my first one. I'm open to comments on it. And, counter arguments if uh, anyone has any, and I'll take all that into consideration. I don't mind any feedback, and depending on that feedback, I may put up um, more videos later, or if people have ideas that they want me to make posts about, I can make videos about that too, and just kind of give my feelings and feedback and my um, thoughts. I do spend a lot of time thinking about things, and kind of a self proclaimed philosopher, if you will. All right, I'm gonna wrap this video up, and thank you for listening if you have.